Well, hello and thank you so much for joining me. In this session, I thought I'd share a really fun project that utilises bath salts and beautiful oats, and we're going to create a bath soak or a bath tea. And I'm also going to be sharing how I decorate and dress the product up. So I've got some great tips for you and I can't wait to get started. I'm Sarah James from Soap School, and if you like these types of products, hit the subscribe button and come join me every week in a brand new project. So I've got some quite simple ingredients here. The first thing I've got is some Himalayan sea salts, and they're this beautiful pink colour. I absolutely love these. They've got such a great mineral profile, and I'm just going to pop these into a bowl. And I've got 1 cup of the Himalayan sea salts. Now, you can buy these online, but you really can get hold of these in all sorts of places. So don't go and get really expensive product. In fact, a lot of your bargain stores just in your local town often carry these. It's something that you really can get hold of wherever you live pretty much. And I do prefer the fine grain one. I just find it easier to dissolve. So just a little bit easier to work with, especially for the project that we're doing today. And to that, I'm going to be adding a fragrance oil. I'm actually using Egyptian rose and water mint from Happy Olive, but you can use whichever fragrance that you want, and that's going to go in. Now I'm using 4 mils of fragrance oil. You can use a little bit more than that if you want to. Remember that although this is going into the bath salts, we're actually going to be diluting these in an awful lot of bath water, so the amount of fragrance can be increased. I'm just mixing that all in. Now I'm using a spoon. You can actually, when you're mixing salts, just put this into a covered container and you can just shake it all up and it works really well. But I'm adding the fragrance to the salt first. And the reason for that is if I put my oats in, and sometimes I make this recipe up with things like dried rose petals or other types of flowers too. But if I add the fragrance or the essential oils directly into botanicals or oats, they suck up a lot of the fragrance or the essential oils and they start to discolour quite badly. So I always add them to my salt and use that as my carrier. So now I've got some beautiful giant porridge oats. Now you don't have to use the giant ones, you can absolutely use the normal ones, but I think they just look beautiful and they're going to work fantastically well in our product. So in there I'm going to put 1/2 cup of our porridge oat. If you don't have porridge oats, you can use oatmeal. Colloidal oats work well in this too. And I'm just going to mix all that up. Doesn't that look beautiful? Now, why am I putting oats into my mixture? You're probably asking. Well, when oats get wet, they give off a milky substance or a mucilage, and it's particularly good for dry or sensitive skins. And I love oat milk. I suffered with eczema from being very, very small. And it's something that I've bathed with most of my life, to be honest. I find it very, very soothing and calming. So that's the mixture finished. Literally that simple. And this is something that you can do with your children, but I'm going to show you how you can decorate these up and make them look absolutely beautiful. Now I purchased a little fabric square because I'm currently on vacation and I didn't have access to most of the things that I have at home. So I decided just to go down to a local craft store and I bought this pretty fabric square, really inexpensively. It was 79 cents. Now you could use scraps of fabric that you have at home, or I often do this with muslin squares. And I'm literally just going to cut this into 4, which is not a perfect square. All right. Let's just do these 2 and then I'll finish the other ones off later. So, I think you can see better there. So I'm just going to put my fabric square down onto the table and I'm just going to use a scoop. You can use a spoon, it really doesn't matter at all. I'm going to put some of this mixture directly in the center. And then I'm just going to gather it up and see how well it fills. I'm just going to take the opposite sides and pull them up, and then bring the other two sides in as well. And then I'm going to see how much do I have at the bottom. Well, I do have a little kind of dumpling shape, but that's not enough for me. I want it a little bit more luxurious, just a little bit more full. So I'm going to add some more of the mixture. Now these are a fantastic thing if you're doing things like wedding favours. And you know, I've missed a step. So let me just talk through some of the other bits and pieces that we've got here, because as I said, I'm on vacation and I hit Joann's, which is a bit deadly, because if any of you have been to Joann's, I'm sure you know, you can spend a fortune in that store because it's full of gorgeousness. But I found some pretty braids and some other bits and pieces, and I can use these in a ton of different projects. And don't buy what you don't need. You've probably got a ton of things already at home that you can utilize. But this particular braid I just thought was super pretty, and I wanted to use that. So I'm going to cut a little length off, and I'm just going to take my opposites and pull them up nice and tight, and then take your hand and gather the fabric up so it's a nice kind of tight bundle, and just adjust it until you get that bottom into a proper ball shape. This is the time that you can shape it and make it what you want. Now, a little tip for you when you're doing these, I always twist my fabric a little bit, and it just gives it a better shape and it helps it to hold. Then I'm going to wrap around twice with my braid, and I'm going to make a little knot. I'm not going to tie this in a bow. I just want this in a nice tight knot so that it holds everything together. And there we go. So I can still manipulate this, and I want it so it's a nice ball, and I want it so that it's got some height to it. And you can fluff all of the top as much as you want. Now we've two ways that we can finish this. We can either leave it with the top nice and full and at different heights, or we can trim this down and make it all level. It really is entirely up to you. And I'm not sure how I'm going to finish this one until I see it a little bit more developed. So I'm just going to leave it exactly like that for now, and I'm going to start adding some other bits and pieces to this. So I have some polka dot ribbon here, which I thought would be really, really nice, and I'm just going to simply tie a bow underneath here. So that's the next stage. Now I'm going to cut off way more than I need. After a while, when you're making bows, you'll know exactly how much you need to make. And when I tie a bow, you can do it two ways. You can do it so that you have your two ends and you make basically two loops. And then you literally tie one loop around the other. And just bring that through. And then pull. And when you do it that way, your two ends always come out the bottom, so they'll come out the same direction when you do them that way, which is quite an easy and fun way to do them. Or you can do it the other way. So just tie it in a knot, and then just tie a bow as you would as if you were doing your shoelaces. Now some people do it where they do one, and then they go around, and then they pull the other loop through, and some people do it the other way where they make the two loops, and again it really doesn't make any difference at all. When you are doing these, make sure that you pull them and manipulate them how you want them to be. A bow will do exactly what you want it to, you just have to force it into it. So if you want your bow to be a little bit smaller or a little bit larger, you can do that. And then we're just going to trim the tips. I'm not sure which way I want to trim these. So I think I'm going to just fold my ribbon in half, and I'm just going to trim. And that will give me this lovely point to my ribbons. I'm going to do exactly the same on the other side. I'm just going to fold my ribbon in half, and then I'm just going to cut up to a point in the middle. And that just gives me that lovely finish. So now I've got some cord and I've got a pretty ribbon. And you can dress this in as many ways as you want. So there's lots of other things that we can do to add interest to it. And I like using all sorts of things. So I've got some little decorative touches here, and these are going to be everywhere at this time of the year. In all of your craft stores, your dollar stores, your pound shops. These are just little Christmas decorations. And you might not have thought of these for this type of thing, but you can literally just cut off a little section of them. And these are like little white glittery snowflakes, and they're super cute. You could also just use large confettis, so you might find some little snowflake confettis. But we can actually glue this so that it's underneath the bow and coming down from the front, and that's just going to look super cute. So that's one option. And then another option is I have a little bit of this garland, and again, this is just so inexpensive, and it's wired, and we can literally just wrap this around and we can have it underneath the bow. Let's just wrap that around and show you what that would look like. Let's have a look. Do we like that? Do we not like that? I think it does look nice, but I think I want to go with the little snowflakes. Yep, I think I'm going to go with the snowflakes on this one. So I'm going to put my garland to one side, and you can pick and choose what you decide that you want to put in with yours. And then I can just glue that into place to make sure that it's not going to move at all. But what do you think? I think that is super cute. Now I could glue this down so it stayed exactly where I wanted it to. I might just glue one of them just so it doesn't move. I think that looks absolutely beautiful. So let's just pop a touch of glue on there and just make sure that it stays where I want it to. I wonder how long that's going to take to set. I normally use a hot glue gun, but I don't have the luxury of that while I'm on holiday. And voila, it bonded. That's not too bad then. So the final thing I'm going to do is just trim the ends, because these are a little bit too long for what I'm looking for. I'm just going to trim the ends, lift up into a nice top, and there we have one finished bath tea, or a bath soak, or a bath dumpling, depending on what you want to call yours. So I'm just going to do exactly the same with the next one. Don't they look absolutely beautiful? I hope you've enjoyed watching me make these, and I look forward to seeing how yours turn out. Do leave me a comment. Let me know whether this is something that you think that you might make, and what kind of trimmings you might use on yours. I'd love to hear from you. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button, and I look forward to seeing you again really, really soon on another Soap Schools tutorial. Take care for now. Bye-bye.